Miss Sasha Spivey? Is that how you
Spivey.
Spivey.
Yeah,
I wasn't
but
sure.
Honestly, you'd probably have better luck with my maiden name, Kovacic. So my dad's from Slovenia.
Oh, wow.
So
Yes.
actually, I've been to
Close to me.
Austria lots of times. Stacy has as well. Yeah,
I went with her.
Yeah.
Surprise.
So my parents are both immigrants. My sister and I are first generation Americans. We're both born in Dallas. Obviously, we've met and raised Stacy, but my mom's from Mexico City, and then my dad's from Slovenia.
Wow.
Yeah, and they met at the Fairmont Hotel.
I was just
in
going to say,
Dallas.
where did they meet?
Right? Yeah.
In Dallas.
At this weird convention.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, no. Both my parents are chefs, and then restaurateurs, and so they met back in the I guess like late 70s. Early 80s, working at the Fairmont Hotel downtown.
How cool.
Yeah, and so kind of a weird little random meet cute, but here we are, and then so would spend pretty much every summer between school years going back to Slovenia, visiting my cousins.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
who knows?
That's fun.
Hence all my Austrian trips, we'd pretty much always fly into Graz and then drive over
my
there in
gosh.
Maribor. So I mean, right there. So I know your neck of the woods.
So great.
Yeah. But yeah.
Tell
so, I
us
mean,
how
that
you
was
like
fun.
the food there.
All of it. All the food. Oh my gosh. I love everything.
Sasha's
Oh
like my
gosh.
live-in chef, I
Yeah.
feel like, most of the time.
Do you cook?
I do.
need to know.
Yes.
Yes, she does.
Yes. I
She
definitely
kept me
very-
alive during COVID.
Yeah. That was definitely my role. The hunter gatherers and I was the preparer. Tom and Stacy had to go get the groceries. I was like, no, I'm cooking everything.
So your parents still chefs right now? They own a restaurant?
They're both retired now. But yeah, they have. I mean, God, they had what three restaurants? Three restaurants
What?
in total, and like kind of one they had on their own. They divorced when I was in high school. And have subsequently, each remarried to wonderful humans. So I have a good foreign blended family. My stepmother's from the Philippines and my stepdad's from Argentina. So
Oh my goodness. It's like
I'm
world.
really good at understanding accents. Doesn't matter what kind of English you speak with, whatever accent, I got you.
That's so cool. Wow.
But yeah, so I think that's a very interesting component to my upbringing is, having all of my schooling done, in Texas, but spending, 2.5 to 3 months every single year overseas. Yeah. And then getting to bring friends along with you to come. And Stacey's been, to Slovenia and Austria, a handful of times, and just getting to do that kind of travel. It's very, you grow up with it thinking it's so normal and so regular because you do it. And, when you're 5, you're like, what do you mean going to Europe to see my grandmother? Yeah, I stayed there for 2.5 months. Normal. And then you go to college and you meet people that have never left the state.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it was just, that's kind of not only an eye-opening factor, but, just having a lot of culture thrown at you and embracing it and, wanting to try different things. And it just gives you, I think, or at least for me, give me a little bit of edge and not being very hesitant in trying things or, the adventurous, I'll jump off of anything.
Oh, wow.
For better or worse, there may be some things I probably shouldn't have tried, but that whole component I think is a very big indicator of why I am the way that I am, and just to have a little bit of fearlessness or healthy ambition. So then I went to Texas A&M. So again, a little bit of a different vibe, but I enjoyed it. It was a very good school. If I'd gone probably anywhere in a bigger, more fun city, I may or may not have done as well as I had. But I'm very much a school person. I'm a real nerd on paper, like real nerdy. So, being able to find a way to utilize like intelligence and studying and having a good memory but finding a way to channel that in a more creative and fulfilling way. I've always enjoyed, artistic, some sort of modality of creation, collaging or building stuff or painting things. I mean, just kind of that whole gamut. I mean, I lived in an apartment for 9 months in college and I painted every single wall.
I helped.
I don't care. I will not live in beige. I won't do it. And so, but yeah, and then, fast forward a little bit, I went through quite a tumultuous final 2 years in college. It was, luckily not super effective. I mean, I'm sure it affected other people when you make mistakes. And, I just lots of struggles with substances and eating disorders and, just a whole gamut of things. But my parents were very supportive and kind when I let them be. And, when you're gone and living somewhere else and your grades are perfect, it's hard to pick up on things. And so I'm very much, I relate very much to your daughter's friend. I will hide that shit. Sorry, that's a lot of times.
No, you're fine. We talk about anal sex on here.
Okay, cool. Hide that shit.
One more time for the people in the back.
Yeah. And then until, and put on this projected facade of, everything's great, everything's fine. And to me, it's very important to appear polished and posh and like everything is going the way that it's supposed to.
What do you, looking back, was there anything that caused?
I think it was just a control mechanism. I think I was just probably feeling frustrated and angry. I mean, you're in college also. I mean, I had a boyfriend that probably wasn't the best influence, but
they never really,
yeah, I mean, but I really, at that point, I can't really blame anyone but me just not having the coping skills or feeling comfortable being vulnerable in any way. I still struggle with that very much. I have a little bit better and healthier approach to it, but for me, it makes me very, very, I was a perfectionist from the age of 3. I mean, it's just wanting to be really good looking on paper and really doing all these things right and just having
everything
that
perfect.
kind of consistent fulfillment. My parents were very busy being restaurateurs, so not wanting to rock the boat by, being a problematic child or getting a B or whatever that is. And it's not that that's what they demanded from me, but somehow I internalized that and that's the way I chose to live. And so ultimately, you can't do it forever. And so, the best kind of a shitty graduation present, but also an awesome graduation present. My parents sent me to treatment. I was inpatient for like 3 months and quite frankly, it couldn't have been a better gift. So I was very fortunate though I didn't mess up my college. I graduated with honors, did everything that I was supposed to, but I managed to wreck pretty much everything else.
Did you ever, when you saw that happen, did you ever get involved as well or no?
So it was a very interesting situation because a lot of it was happening because I was at Texas State and she was at A&M. And so I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. And at one point she came back and she was roommates with my sister. And so a little bit of it was funneled through what my sister was experiencing. And I feel like in hindsight, I was, like 20 years old. And I wish I could have been a better person then. I wish I could have been there more for her. I wish I knew how to be. But there wasn't a way that I knew who to go to or what steps to take to be there for her. I just didn't understand. Except that, okay, well, did Sasha mess up? What's happening? Okay, she's, maybe she just doesn't want to be my friend anymore.
Oh,
I mean, and it was just a moment of, okay, and so then she goes to get this treatment. And as I'm realizing, okay, something clearly is going awry with her.
Bigger than what you thought.
So during that time, I think I talked to her maybe once or twice, but I talked to her mom, pretty much the whole time. And then I was in a relationship at the time too. And, we broke it off for a period of time. And then she got out and the next thing it'd probably been like the longest period of time we had never really seen each other. It was probably like 8 months maybe.
Yeah, about.
And I just roll up in her driveway and I just knocked on the door.
Best day ever.
I was like, hey man, you okay?
Yeah. So was it one treatment and it took?
No, so I was an inpatient for about 4 months. I had a lot of stuff I just really needed to get together. And a big part of it is also, it's just, especially with eating disorders, there's just such a wide array of all of it. And I think a big component to that is growing up European, food is a big deal. Like there's the comfort factor. There's my grandmother would like eat all this food all the time. And it's a sign of love. And again, working for restaurateur parents. And then it's also like one of the few things that you feel like you can control. So whether it's intake or resisting of intake or intaking and then refunding. There's just so many ways to do it. And I was just kind of more, I think I just more, for me, it's control. When I don't feel like I'm in control, I don't enjoy that, so I'll find ways to feel in control, at least from what I've been able to unpack by all of this. And so I just, it just takes a little while to it is also something that's very easy to relapse on and not anyone not know. It's a lot easier to see when someone's on meth again.
Right.
You know what or if they're drinking again. And that's just the way that it is. And luckily that wasn't, so I probably I drank a little too much, did some drugs I probably shouldn't have. But for me, I was definitely more of a process and behavioral. That was where my struggles lied. And so it's more coming to terms with not needing to strive for perfection, or learning to be vulnerable, even if you're selective with who that group of people is, or to forgive yourself for making mistakes, because everyone does. And, that whole gamut. And then I was just angry and really embarrassed that my family and friends found out. So I think that probably padded my time, because when you're resistant, therapy works if you work with it and do those things. So if you're resistant and angry and not letting it do what it's supposed to do, it's going to add on your time. Yeah. So, I definitely a good 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks of that camp, being there, feeling like, oh, I'm smart enough. I can tell them what they want to hear. I can outsmart at this and just live my life the way that I want to. And definitely, approached it that way initially, but, you learn a lot. And then seeing other people, I think one of the biggest sources of my gratitude is that I was 20. It was my college graduation gift. So I didn't have a job, on the line yet, or I didn't have a family, or, an extensive licensed career like a lot of the other people that I was in treatment with. There's physicians and attorneys and, dentists and these people that are losing their licenses, and their families are, alive and struggling for income and all. I think that was probably the biggest like slap in the face, like, wake up, kid, like, you're welcome that this happened now, get your shit together and figure it out. And, whether that, even though that's not from the therapy treatment directly, being able to understand your environment and take what you can from it and figure out whatever it is that gets you in going in the right direction. That was definitely a big factor, because I just think about now, like right now, if I was in the position that I was in 2007 right now, it would be so much more catastrophic. Like that might actually make me cry thinking about that. Yeah. Maybe not, but that is so much more terrifying. I've got this beautiful, but there's so much more. Yeah.
More to lose, more to deal with.
Yeah, there's a lot more mess. And so, I think, it's different. And I wasn't always very comfortable discussing it. And now I'll tell anyone who listens, like, hell yeah, I've been to rehab. It's great. You should go. The people that are very resistant to therapy, I'm like, yeah, you probably need to go.
I agree with you.
And so I think it's, just coming to the reality that everyone has issues, and then me growing up with what would seemingly be painted as a very happy childhood. I didn't have trauma. My parents weren't abusive to my sister nor I. They didn't, they probably shouldn't have been married for as long as they were, but overall, it would skew very, very high on good, happy childhood. And so there's just some guilt I think associated with that, because I'm like, well, why would I behave this way? Why would I end up here? Like, what happened? Nothing bad really ever happened to me. And I'm putting my parents through all of this and my family, and I shouldn't have these problems because nothing bad happened. And so I think that's also a thing, is just forgiving you, and your trauma is your trauma, how you feel, whatever your issues are, comparing that to everyone. That's an endless game that's going to get you nowhere. And it's just not worth focusing on. And I think that, just learning how to make yourself feel better and to be the best person that you can be, is a coping set of skills that everyone needs, regardless of what the experience specifically is. So, take it from me. I lived a happy life and managed to make a mess.
You did
that shit in the back.
One rehab stint.
My inpatient was about 4 months, and then I was in an outpatient program for about maybe 6 months after. I don't know, it was 2007, so I don't know. A while after that. Like that's more just going in, checking in with your groups. Right. So it's a combination of group therapy, individual therapy, and then I'm still in therapy now. I see a therapist every other week, and for me, it keeps me centered. For now, it's more goal oriented, how to prioritize our time as we're getting busier and busier, how to make sure that I don't jump into, because for me, it's very easy to go into that place and throw myself completely into something and neglect, friendships or relationships or personal things. I'll just throw myself into something and it's like, wait a minute, take a step back. It's okay if you don't get 750 things done today. You only get 400 things done today. That's great. Normally, that's not how my brain works. I'm a more is better, accomplish a lot. I'm efficient. I'm fast. And to take that breath and slow down is important. It makes it fun. And you don't have, you can really sour the whole experience if you dive in so hard in one direction. And why would I want to do that? It's so awesome.
Yeah. I help with that because I'm very slow.
So you balance each other out.
Yeah.
Well,
I am a human sloth. And very sensitive.
That's funny. I love it. So you came out of rehab, like when you completed it.
Yeah.
Tell us what came next.
So after that, luckily, I bought a house, and I got a job afterwards. Did that for a while. I was in clinical research for a little bit, and then realized I probably don't need to be in a lab every day. Give me some human interaction. So then I went and got my licensing to be a medical esthetician. So it was a nice way to utilize my big nerdy science brain, but have some fun human interaction, which I enjoy and thrive with, but then also like the artistic component for, injectables and skincare and that treatment. There really is an artistry. And so I worked with a really wonderful plastic surgeon for about a decade. And then in the interim, met my husband in between there. We met on the internet, the old match.com.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
There's more people than you think.
The algorithm worked. I went on 5 dates and he was one of them.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know how that worked out, but yay.
How long have you been married?
6 years? Yeah, 6 years, met together for 10. So yeah, we met pretty close. Stacy at my door and Tom coming into my life were very, very close together. So that was kind of a wild, oh shit, everything's moving in the right direction. And so using that to be excited and move forward, and then getting a job. I had a job that was great and paid me ample money so I could buy a home at 23, in Dallas city limits. So that was great.
Nice.
But, didn't really love it. So then finding a job that I enjoyed and, we had fulfillment doing, got to meet all sorts of awesome patients. It kind of filled all the criteria that I really liked at the time. And then about 2 years. So 2017, I was still working, for the physician. And that's kind of when Stacy and I are like, so want to start a brand so we can hang out all the time and probably get paid? Let's do it.
Let's do that.
You wanna?
Yeah. What are you doing later? And so then we, the first 2 years we were both, working and building this and, trying to fulfill all of that. And it's just been kind of a fun, exciting time. I don't. My husband has children from his previous marriage, so I'm very lucky because I think there's, I enjoy kids. I've never woken up feeling like, oh God, I want to have a baby. But I think it's because I just don't like babies. I just get very uncomfortable. They can't communicate. I need communicate. You can communicate. Tell me what you want. Great. I don't know, and it's so small, and I'm just like, They were 4 and 7 when we met, so I'm like, potty trained sentences. Yes. Okay. But I like coloring. I like board games. I like crafts. So I love all of that is great. But I even babysat when I was younger, like middle school and even early high school. But it just not for babies. So that's been a really wonderful, and I think the most fulfilling way for me to experience motherhood. Because I do care for them very much. Their mother is very involved and a great parent, so it's not so much a replacement mechanism, it's the bonus mom. And so, we have a really fun relationship. They're both very different, but it's nice to have, significant connections with, my 17-year-old stepson, kind of a weird environment anyway, but he's my solo sport guy. We ski together, we hike together. I gave him most of his driving hours. Both of his parents are a little loud and I guess they
Parental.
Yeah, parental. Yeah, I'm like, unless you're gonna run into something, I'm probably just gonna sit here. So there's fun to have things that you connect with each kid, and then Shay is just a real wild thing. She's a lot like Tom, fun, loud parties. We dance. I bring her to baby showers, and probably some other parties that I'm like, well, they're on a kid weekend. Want to come? She's like, yeah. So she'll come, and so she's 13. So it's been very fun, and I think I enjoy that, but it's perfect.
It's perfect. I love that. I know. I love
People
that.
sometimes look at you when you're a woman and you say you don't want children. They're like waiting for some demon to be like, wah, come out of your neck because they're like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, well, nothing.
It's not for everyone.
We talk about it all the time on here.
Yeah, it's such a very weird place.
Some of us are older and still never had kids.
Yeah, see?
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just okay for someone to want something different than what you want.
I don't go around hitting kids. I don't want one.
Right. Oh, I've been asked that too. Like, because I haven't been in the place to feel like, oh, I have to have children. And just literally at lunch the other day, a gentleman asked me, he goes, well, why don't you want children? And I was like, I almost don't know how to answer that because it's just the way I feel, right? He goes, and he said the exact same thing. He goes, oh, do you not like kids? And I'm like, what kind of person do you think I am?
I hate rainbows and sunshine.
I'm sure they're great. Honestly,
Dolphins.
not all kids are great, but human beings, regardless of their age, I don't love all of them either.
No,
I mean,
exactly. I know.
So it's just
And right now, I'm not liking you.
Thank you.
Exactly. Because you asked a really stupid question.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't like
Pretty
those
much.
stupid
Right.
questions.
Stupid questions are what I don't enjoy.
When I get asked, I always say baby Gucci costs just as much as regular.
That's right.
I'll take one for myself. Thank you.
That's hilarious.
Good answer.
I love it.
Sasha, do you have
Yes.
anything else that you want to share?
No, I just think now I'm just like straight up really feel like I'm thriving. I really
love
don't
that.
have a lot of like needs or things that I wish that I had. I mean, I think any goal at this point that I really have is just being able to facilitate and hopefully, smoothly as possible, maneuver Franki Ray in the right direction. I mean, this is the most drive. I mean, I'm getting up like thrilled to work with my best friend and to move forward and just to build this empire that we, probably have been dreaming about since we realized. And so, just truly living my best life.
There you go. I love that.
I love that. So let's end this episode and we come back with, make sure you guys listen to the next one,
Franki
all about
Ray.
Franki Ray, and we are going to go to Party with Miss Polly.
It's time to party with Miss Polly.
I'm ready. Miss Polly, what do you got for us today? What are you going to teach us?
Well, this probably doesn't affect a lot of women, but as women age and even some that are younger, they may have to either, because of medical reasons, have a hysterectomy. So the biggest question when they have a hysterectomy is a lot of women ask, does a hysterectomy affect my ability to have an orgasm?
Really?
Oh.
That is a lot. I mean, that's probably some of the biggest question that whenever I was going through that conversation with my doctor, I did a lot of research because, the thing is there are things that special doctors that you should have give you a hysterectomy. Believe it or not, they should also be a urologist or consult with one because it can affect your bladder. Also, the depth of especially if you have the cervix removed, which I did because of precancerous cells. So that being said, also there's a lot of times what can happen is the vagus nerves can be damaged and severed, especially when you're having your cervix removed.
What are those nerves?
So those are the nerves that actually are connected to like the nipples and the clitoris. And I mean, so It's like a really long nerve, and it's connected throughout your spine and everything else. Yes.
Wow.
So it can affect, depending on how you have an orgasm, it can affect how it feels.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. I never knew that at all.
I mean, how
Which is-
crazy is this that us
Things
women,
I wish I had known.
but also
before.
Women, that's not like a normal thing everyone should know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Probably not.
no, I've never even heard of this.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Which already, I'm sure that's a very traumatizing experience to get all of that done. And then you have like,
Everything's different.
yeah, you're like, you ruined my orgasm.
Everything's different. Stimulation, like most of the times, like if you get nipple stimulation and it's connected to your clitoris and you're like, ooh, okay. Well, in the process of hysterectomy, that can be severed and damaged, and you don't feel that anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know, Miss
Well, yeah,
Polly.
thank you.
why I'm
Let's
here.
go to question of the day.
The two posh girls ask the question of the day.
Significant other always avoids conflict. Significant other always says, I don't want to talk about this right now or today. Is this a red flag or a deal breaker? We'll go to them first.
I mean, I feel that you should always have lines of communication open.
Oh,
So
yes.
if someone doesn't want to talk about it, maybe, when I'm angry, I definitely don't want to talk about it when I'm angry, because I might just say shit that I don't mean. But I definitely
Because
like
is
to
it
calm
weird that I
down and
feel
talk
like you
about it.
can't even get angry?
I feel like you can't either.
I cannot imagine it.
I can get angry.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it takes a while. I usually just kind of brush stuff off. But, I mean, it
It's
happens.
What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, I'll chime in here. So my husband's definitely more the like traditional, like don't air your dirty laundry, sweep things under the rug, smile, move forward. I'm not that way. Like not even a little. So compromise can be, because I'm someone where like I want to talk about this now, and he's not that way. So it's more like finding a way to hold each other accountable and really circling back. If it is something that's really important for me, it's probably helpful that he doesn't want to talk about things right then. So it kind of puts a screeching halt to the escalation. And then it's like, if it is something that I remember to bring up and talk to, because he won't ever bring it up again. That I've learned, that's my role. If it is important enough to talk about, it's my job to set aside a time or ask him like, okay, can we talk about this now? If I don't get to that point, it's probably because it was stupid.
Right.
So we have a nice
see that
a
time.
nice medley of the two.
That's good.
And that's true too.
Sometimes
When
I'm
you
like, "Oh,
are
you're right,
angry,
that's
I
dumb."
mean, it's going to escalate stuff even more, and it probably was meaningless.
Mm-hmm. Stacey?
I personally, I find fighting productive. I like to talk a lot, and there's moments where I'm like, okay, maybe I won't bring it up because I'm like, oh, this is, if we keep talking about this, they're gonna get to the bottom of it, and it's gonna be my fault. So those are probably the times I don't want to talk about it. But I come across issues where just because I'm dating, so I don't have a relationship, but I think the mentality of people just beginning right now is that, and I told Sasha this the other day, people don't like to fight, and it's not even that they don't like to fight. They don't have the span of time in their own mind to spend a second having a conversation with you that may be something that is, maybe an adverse topic. Mm-hmm. So people just would rather move on and not fight. They don't know how to fight anymore. And I don't always think that's a bad thing if you fight about something. And, I think fight has a negative connotation, of course, but sometimes it's like, it's worth talking about, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. We can get through this. And now I'm just going to be sitting over here wondering, what if, and so many people have the thank you next moment, and they have this, always looking for the next best thing. And when you're always in that mentality, you're on this cyclical roller coaster and you never stop.
It's a scary place to manage your expectations,
Yes.
thinking that you can be in some sort of like meaningful relationship and never have an argument. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That can't happen, or your relationship is bullshit.
Right.
But
Hence
also,
my relationships.
I feel that there's a difference between fighting and communicating.
Same.
You know, when you're
Very.
fighting and you're just talking and the other person's just maybe not even listening, you know, when you're like actually sit down, communicating, you know, speaking, this is how
Yes.
I feel, this is how you make me feel when you do something like this. And, you know,
But people are so sensitive. It's like, oh, they don't want to hear any of that. They don't have the confidence to understand, okay, maybe I did do something wrong, you know? And if I did, how can we work through that? Because a lot of times it's a partnership. It's not something you did wrong on your own. It's how you interact together.
Right.
And that's what causes that ripple or causes that disagreement. And so you have to figure out what works with you and me and what's that equation. And sometimes people are selfish and don't want to know that they have to meet in the middle of the road.
I love that one.
and, you know, just because you're speaking doesn't mean the other person's understanding too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
very frustrating.
You know,
Yes.
Marcella taught me something lately that has been very like mind opening to me, because she's like, emotional intelligence
Stay calm.
is unbelievable. And I was like, I never really thought
And
about
it doesn't
that.
always correlate with educational intelligence.
That is true.
100%.
100%,
So, yeah.
actually.
It's very interesting when you are in a situation and then you think about it and you go,
I just
I don't always have to say something.
No,
It just-
and I think that I like to call them heated debates, because I don't like fighting and I won't argue. So if we're going to start doing like we're 12, I'm just going to stop. Like I'm just not going to go there, because I'm at an age like I'm not going to start doing this, because I get upset because I'm very sensitive. So then I'll start crying and then I start to freak out. So I like to stay as calm as possible. It's very hard when you bring something up calmly, because I never just attack people for no reason. I usually like to be like, hey, can I talk to you? This is really affecting me. When that other person then starts to walk away, or I don't want to talk about this right now, it's like, then I would be more like a shutdown. Then, okay, I guess I won't bring that up anymore. And then I think the queen of never talking about it again. And then I walk away and people are like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, well, I talked to you about this a long time ago. You
But it
didn't want to talk
wasn't
about it. It wasn't important to you then. So now bye.
and there's no coming back ever.
No, you've killed it. But yeah, I think you have to have open communication. It's okay to have a heated debate. It's okay to
Absolutely.
agree to disagree. I don't know why we're in this place now. We can't do that anymore.
Right.
It's like suddenly you can't agree to disagree. Like I still respect you for what you think. I just maybe don't think the same. But nobody does that anymore.
No, they don't. It's exactly
Either their way or the highway.
Exactly.
Yes. And they think you can't
I'm
be
sorry.
friends or together. If
Yeah.
you think
No.
different. I don't know. It's weird. But that's
I
how
mean,
think.
sometimes that whole thing is a red flag, though, in terms of if they completely shut down and will refuse to talk about something that's important to me, then that means that you don't think what I have to say is worth saying.
Well, it's kind of what you said earlier. Like they're just selfish now. It's like I did nothing wrong, so I'm not even going to hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bottom line, when it comes down to it, if they don't find that they have the time to work it out, then why do they not care to? Like what's the other reason? What's the next level to this?
Yeah.
What do you think, Spider?
Oh, definitely a red flag. I have a question for you guys, though, because it was something that got brought up in the studio the other day. Do you have any green flags? So basically, do you have something like when you see someone, they do say, have a certain attitude or something that you immediately want to know more?
Good question.
Oh my gosh, Spider! I need to think
Spider.
about that
The
for a
positive
minute.
spin.
I know.
Maybe we should talk about green flags.
I know.
We'll save it for another show.
Yeah.
That is
Are they
very cool.
breathing? Do they make
No, I think
over
that's a red
certain
flag.
amount? Do they make over a certain amount of money a year? Are they single?
Right.
Are they available?
You should write that one.
I know.
Oh.
I will hear it. Green flags, you guys. That's awesome.
That's better positive spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
always
it
talk
is.
about red and pink flags.
Yeah.
The green one. Hey, on that note, thank you for listening,
Thank you so
everyone. And
much.
please follow us on all our social media platforms. And what is it?
TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. What am I missing?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Oh my gosh, we're getting that.
OnlyFans. Don't forget the OnlyFans.
Oh, we're done.
I said it like out of like OnlyFans. No,
What?
not
What?
today.
You
I knew I
still
should've
don't have
left the
one,
button.
huh?
Still don't have one.
Man.
Can we
Could
do
have been making bucks.
What about? Can we do a podcast? On
Yeah, you can
OnlyFans?
put anything on OnlyFans.
You can do anything.
Yeah.
Then it's like
I think we can't. I think it has to be about feet.
I have a friend who stopped using Instagram and just uses OnlyFans as Instagram. Doesn't have nudes, has nothing, still makes
Perfect.
money off of it.
all right.
Oh yeah.
We got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening
Yeah,
and
like
thank you for
that.
60,000. Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yes, so exciting.